the reason that I wanted to talk about it is because some of the assumptions that I had made about the game were dead wrong as far as how much it cost and how much Sony really lost on it. Concord cost about $400 million to make.
We're back talking about Concord again because of how much of an epic flop it was. We were wrong. We knew Concord was a big flop, right? But we were wrong in the sense of how big of a flop this game was. We're going to find out that this game cost $400 million to make. $400 million. And that means that is a $400 million loss for Sony. And what's crazy to me is this isn't even their most expensive project. When are they going to learn? Let's sit back, watch a reaction video of Asman reacting to the Sacred Symbols podcast. This is a reaction of a reaction. I hope you guys enjoy. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys again tomorrow.
Concord did not cost. We all thought that it costed $100 million. Well,
we were wrong.
I want to talk about Concord. I wasn't going to ever talk about this game again because who really gives a shit? However, and I don't do journalism really anymore, as you guys know.
Just let me know when.
This a lot. I was a journalist.
A lot of people don't. Yeah, don't. You're in good. You're in good company then.
Yeah.
At one time, and I used to break a lot of stories, and these days I don't really grind like that. So the stories that I break these days are usually people, always, not usually, always people coming to me.
Sure.
And someone who worked on Concord reached out to me, and I verified who this person was and went through all of that and talked to this person extensively, for a long time. Ooh. And got some, I think, interesting information that I can share about Concord.
This gets real good real quick.
And I think people will be interested about it. The reason that I wanted to talk about it is because some of the assumptions that I had made about the game were dead wrong as far as how much it cost and how much Sony really lost on it. So the big thing that you really need to know here about this is that Concord cost about $400 million to make.
Damn. That's a $400 million loss because they... Not only did they cut the game, where it's dead, you can't buy it, but then they did a mass refund of anyone who did buy the game. So assuming that 100% of the people got the refund back for the money, including Walmart's, the Targets, everything, it's a $400 million mistake. Damn, I know. Where did the money go? Just to these execs. Is that what you're thinking? It's got to be what you're thinking.
How?
Yeah. There was nothing to that game. How did it cost $400 million? Unless they had so much shit in the back end that was already
8
like...
years of AAA game development? You know what? You're not entirely wrong. Yeah. 8 years, big studio. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
$400 million.
The story goes
That's insane.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking cheddar. That's a lot of cheddar.
By the time Concord was... So in the first quarter of 2023, Concord had basically entered an alpha state.
Right.
This was before Sony had even purchased the team. But Sony had been working with Probably Monsters, which was the original owner.
So they were able to play the game and they still bought it? Well, no wonder that Jim guy got kicked out. What the hell was he thinking?
It was a terrible
What the
decision.
fuck?
Firewalk, probably since late 2020, maybe 2021 at the latest on Concord. The game was in development before that. Up to the point that the game went into alpha state, they had already spent about $200 million on it. And it's unclear how much of that money is from Probably Monsters and the original investors into the game and how much of that money was from Sony. There's this term in product development, not only with games, but really with everything. You can like manufacture a shot.
Sure.
You guys might have heard of it. It's called minimum viability or
minimum viable product. Yeah. MVP.
Minimum viable product.
Yeah.
The idea behind this, or MVP, the idea behind this is that this is like what you're trying to achieve, and it's like once you cross this barrier, you feel comfortable selling it. It's not.
Yeah, that's this is also known as the pre-order bonus. This is what you get whenever you pre-order a game. Yeah, there you go. And that's the way all games are released. The
minimum value proposition for it?
Not that it's the best it can be, or that it's what it's going to be by the time you launch it, because there's all sorts of extra stuff you can do with it. Like, this is the minimum viability of the product. when the game had already had $200 million spent on it and was basically in an alpha form in quarter one of 2023,
$200
from
million.
that point until the game launched, Sony spent another $200 million on it.
So they looked at it, played it, and said, you know what? This would be really good if we spent another $200 million and we'd definitely get our money back. Like, where's the mathing here? Like, Pep, you might be right. This might be an inside job. This might be like just money washing.
How do you do that?
This Concord literally might be somebody like washing money for like the cartel or something, because this does not make any sense.
Like, I'm really curious, right? Like, how do you make money disappear like that? That's crazy.
Because they're washing it. I'm convinced now.
Yeah, these people should, after they made Concord, they should become like magicians or something. They should work for the Federal Reserve. They can get rid of all the inflation. They'll just delete all the
moving money around. So it's like
scuttlebutt behind the scenes.
The issue is like with other games that have come out with Sony, with like this new Astrobot, the Spider-Man game, all the other games that have come out in 2024, collectively have probably made enough money to consider this a wash. And what's more, if they're just washing money and Sony is, or somebody at Sony is working with like the Yakuza over in Japan, like they're just fucking washing their yen, they're washing their dollars, they're hiding their shit.
About Concord is that the game was in a laughable shape when it was shown. And
like Sony's working with the Yakuza
like
or something.
When
or maybe
the
they
alpha
are the
was ready to
Yakuza
go,
at this point.
and they were kind of being like, you know, we're ready to kind of get moving towards getting this thing out in the next year or two.
Sure.
It was in such horrible shape that Sony felt like they needed to spend that much money again, so 200 plus 200, to get the game to the MVP status, not...
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't know how you play something and you're like,
how
you know what?
How do you spend $200 million and it's barely even good enough to release?
No, it's 100. It's not 200 million.
Cost fallacy.
That's
I
the
think
cost.
that's what
There's
happened.
another 200 million on top of that.
I do. I feel like they bought it and they were so invested into it that they were like, we have to do it now. We're this close.
To the status of it being like a great game, to get it to just viability.
Oh my God.
And that at that time in quarter one 2023, there was nothing done. Like, a major expense was having to urgently outsource much of the game to other studios to finish building the game out.
So they didn't even do it themselves. So they spent $200 million and the studio couldn't even then figure out a way to do it in-house?
No, they used Fiverr.
Oh my God. Like, this is how do you do, like, what the hell happened?
They're
That's
washing
incredible.
money. They're washing their yen.
And that two fundamental things were not worked on at all up to the point in which the game was shown in alpha. Onboarding, nothing about that. No, like there was nothing about how players get on, like how they make their character, all that kind of stuff, or you know, choose their character and get there, and monetization. Two very expensive, very specific and boutique things that happen to games like this.
Sure.
And so that's the first thing that I wanted to say, is that it's not only about the ongoing cost, which would be in the millions to keep the game going per month.
Exactly.
But that the game...
That's why Sony cut the cord. I think that's what it was. Is like they had already spent $400 million, or they had spent $200 million. They bought the company for a certain amount of money too. So they had already spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and the game to have that much of a fuck up, I'm pretty sure somebody at Sony was like, all right, guys, enough is enough. Let's take her out to the back of the barn and,
Concord has cut the cord.
You know how it is.
Cost about $400 million to make, soup to nuts.
Holy
Sony
fuck.
put most of that money in, and it is not only so, because we had kind of said like this must be Sony's biggest loss ever on a game, and it is. It's the biggest
so far. I think they can do better. I think they'll do it. I think they could do something even worse than that.
game Sony's ever released from a budgetary standpoint, from the first party or second
most
party.
expensive.
Yeah,
So,
the biggest
let
flop,
that
that's
sink
for
in.
sure.
It's crazy.
And it's totally unintuitive. There are games that are in development right now at Sony first and second party that are more expensive than this.
What?
But as of the games that have come out so far, so think about like Spider-Man 2,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. We
Wait,
know the last
so they
one's
already
part 2
have
cost
games that are
$220
more
million.
expensive than
Spider-Man
400
3.
million?
is going to cost about $350
How long have they been in
million.
development?
This game costs more.
I wonder if the people that are making games ever think to themselves, maybe we're spending too much money on making these games. Because if it costs $350 million, right? Let's talk the economics.
I don't think they're good. I don't think that's a thought that comes through. What I think is the issue is that there's so much money that's being dumped that people aren't using it efficiently, and they're afraid if they have a $400 million budget, they're afraid of realistically only using $200 million to get it out and saving that $200 million for maybe emergency patches, update, and post-launch content. It seems like if you give somebody $400 million to make a game, they're going to use $410 million to make said game.
Economics of this. If it goes from 260 to 320, they're probably expecting to either sell more copies or charge more money, right? Because everything they have like a goal projection, and you can assume that internally the goal is not to make less money than the last product, right? That you can easily assume that they are trying to make more money than they made on the last one. So how are they going to make that money? Are they going to have weird pre-order things? Are they going to have a early access? Is the game going to be $90 instead of $70? There's going to be something, because somewhere down the line, somehow they're going to have to make that extra $80 million back.
Than that, and they lost all of it.
Yeah,
because they made no money. They made about $1 million gross revenue.
$1 million
Gross. Not even net.
Spend $400 million and you make $1 million. Gross revenue, not net. Gross.
That's literally what I just said. Yikes. That's bad. That's real bad.
And then they gave it all back. So this is a huge, multiple hundreds of millions of dollar loss.
Yeah, a $400
They
million
could have
loss.
invested into Bored Apes and they would have made more money. Like, you could have invested into Enron almost and probably made more money. Like, I'm trying to think of like just massive failures that would still make more money than this. You mean lost less money? Yeah, I guess so.
Question is, why? Why did this happen?
That's a good question.
This game was heavily championed behind the scenes. Now we know this because Sony ended up. What's funny is that the game is presented in Q1 2023 as this.
Dude, this is really going to be like what I was saying about how the PS5 Pro was probably leaning super hard on Concord. They were probably betting on this being a huge W, and I bet they had to like fucking rush cut like a third out of the PS5 Pro trailer.
We're kind of getting towards the end. The game is nowhere near being done. It's in a horrible position. And then Sony buys the team.
Yeah.
The idea behind this was, and the term apparently verbatim had been used, that Concord is the future of PlayStation.
Yikes. That was going to be the future? Your wish list, Guardians of the Galaxy, your Temu, your Shin version of Guardians of the Galaxy and Star-Lord and Groot?
They had such major ambition for this game that it was referred to internally as a Star Wars-like project for Sony.
I think that there's a lot of people that need to get fired.
Yeah. Sony needs to get cut, or at least the gaming division needs to get cut in like
half.
You
can't. I mean, that's a no, that's not true. It's a $399 million mistake.
No, you can't say that because even with that $1 million gross that they had to refund it. And even if it's, let's say, 50%, that's a $399.5 million loss.
You can't just mess something up like that. That's crazy.
That it can be repeatedly revisited over and over and over again.
$400 million?
Right. It is 400 because they gave everybody all their money back.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, no. No, I forgot all about that. Yes. No, you're right. $400 million mistake. Oh my God.
Not only in cross media, but in what we were seeing, we've
That
already
makes
kind
me
of seen
actually
little
feel good
bits of
because
it.
now
So
if I fuck up at
the
work,
weekly
I can
story
point to
vignettes
this
that
and
they
be
were
like,
going to
hey, at
release,
least it's
and then
not
of course
this.
the inclusion in Amazon's
I didn't fuck up that bad.
Secret Levels anthology. That's like just scratching
Yeah.
the surface of it. Ironically, the game was codenamed Chaos behind the scenes, and
shit.
a major thing about the
It
game
was.
is that there was, and I think we can kind of get this vibe from just the nature of the people making it and kind of the way the game reads and all that, a toxic positivity vibe.
Yeah, because
Everything is
can't go
awesome.
against it. You can't say anything.
Everything
and this
is
the problem,
good
right?
when you're part of a
is that there's certain
team.
ideals and certain types of like
Everything is
things in video
awesome.
games that you can't question. Like, think about how much shit I got whenever I said that I thought the body type 1 and 2 thing with video games was stupid. Tons of people were getting mad at me and trying to call me out and shit on me for that. So nobody probably inside of the industry is going to do that because they don't want to risk their job. You see what I'm saying? Because these are the kinds of people that will make up lies about you and then go to HR and get you fired.
And then they think HR
So
is
that's
only
what
there
I
for
think
them
happened.
when it's not. HR
It's
is
the
just
same
there to
thing with
protect the
having
company,
pronouns
not
for the
the
characters.
employees.
So it's like you can't question this or say that it's a problem, because if you do, then you're enabling bigotry or somehow you're a bad person. So it's like, how do you address the fact that this isn't going to resonate with an audience? Well, you can't. You can't address it. You can't talk about it. So you just have to let it go and let it happen. You think they just hired yes men? No. I think that there's a chilling effect from the way that people handle like any sort of friction with narratives like this. So basically, and you see this all the time, right? Like, think about the kind of things that people say about me. They say that I hate trans people. They say I hate women. Like I all of these things, right? I hate
Yeah,
gay
and only like
people.
50% of
I'm
that
racist,
is true, right?
etc. And so if you're saying all these things
kidding, I
about
know
a
they're fake.
person, and this is a work environment, this is extremely damaging to a person's career. It can be extremely, like, massively damaging. And I think this is especially
Damaging,
true
it could be
inside
catastrophic.
of the context of this specifically. Because these are the kinds of people that will go to your new employer and then try to push this agenda with them to get you fired from your new job. These are the people that will call your job to get you fired because you made a Facebook post that was something that they disagreed with politically, right?
Yeah.
These are the kinds of people that do it. You might even get blamed for their mistakes. Yeah, exactly. Like, they're super vitriolic. They're super sanctimonious. They're going to do everything that they can to, like, assert themselves as being the good group of people, etc. And I think there's a lot of people that work in the gaming industry that probably don't like this at all, but they can't speak out about it, because if they speak out about it, they lose their job.
Because it makes
Because
the
they
loud...
get mischaracterized by...
Well, it just makes the small minority who's just loud as hell speak out against the majority who just wants to do their job and have pride in it.
This group of people that have been involved with gaming long enough to control enough of the process. I think this is what's happening. And I think if you think about it, right? If I speak, I'm in trouble. Exactly, right? And so a lot of people don't speak out against it. They probably don't want to die on that hill, and it doesn't matter, and it's not that big of a deal to them. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, they might think this is stupid or it's not going to go well, but they care more about keeping their job than, like, trying to argue about body type 1 and 2 or putting pronouns for a robot. Like, they care about this, but they don't really care about this more than their job or their well-being, right? Yeah, they're still going to get paid, which is reasonable. Of course people are going to think that. But that's the way that it happens, is because reasonable people are afraid to speak out because they don't want to be made an example of by people that are extremists. And I think that's what's happened.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a long-winded way to say what I said, but yeah, I totally agree.
Weren't allowed to say anything, apparently internally, about this game.
Exactly, yeah.
About how, like, something's wrong with it, character designs are not right,
Exactly, because if you say the character designs aren't right, then you are potentially saying that people of size should not be in video games. And this is the issue, right? Or, oh, you're saying minorities shouldn't be in this game. You just want everybody to be white people. What are you, a white supremacist? Why would anybody want to do that? Why would anybody put themselves in the crosshairs of that? Because, like, for me, like, I'm in a very, very unique position. I have a huge community. A lot of people watch my content. Tons of people agree with me. And as long as I don't break the YouTube or the Twitch terms of service, I still get to make money. So, like, effectively, if somebody on Twitter gets upset about something, they can't, like, complain to my boss and just get me fired based off of some bullshit, right?
This is a great example of somebody breaking through and breaking past that barrier, at least of, let's say, influence or celebrityism. But the idea that if you can't critique a game, especially with Concord, something that Sony paid $200 million for, they played it, said, you know what, we should spend $200 million more on this. We're definitely going to get our money back on it. And then not have the balls or the confidence in that decision to take some constructive criticism from the people who are making the game to make it better and to get that money back. It's just, I saw in Asmon's chat, Concord just basically means cut the cord. But let me know what you guys think. I'm going to link the video down below so you guys can watch the full damn near 40-minute video of Asmon and this. Asmon's always great. He's honestly just super fucking based.